So, this week on Back in a Bit, we look at weird statistics in sports.
We have a look at the Mental Health Awareness Week.
And guess what? I'm getting a makeover.
Yes, you are. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Back in a Bit. I am your host, Lauren Devine.
And I'm Cody Mathson Lowe.
How are you today, Cody?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. We've accidentally colour coordinated today.
I know. Look at this.
Didn't get a memo, but we all got the memo.
Yeah, and then, I thought, it's weird with colour coordinate. And then, Jess, you're also wearing something heavily green.
I know, and I love this shirt as well. As you know, Cody, I made one of our actors in the short film we're working on wear this, so it's one of my favourite nice, bright, colourful things to wear.
We're absolutely loving the colour green today, but let's just jump straight into it. News with Jess.
Great, thanks, Lauren. In world news, the Nobel Peace Prize was this week awarded to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali. After being elected as leader in 2018, Mr. Ali began an initiative to resolve the conflict between Ethiopia and bordering Eritrea. The Norwegian Nobel Prize Committee commended Mr. Ali on his achievements as Prime Minister, saying he spent his first 100 days as Prime Minister lifting the country's state of emergency, granting amnesty to thousands of political prisoners, discontinuing media censorship, legalising outlawed opposition groups, dismissing military and civilian leaders who were suspected of corruption, and significantly increasing the influence of women in Ethiopian political and community life. Here in Melbourne, Extinction Rebellion protesters once again took to the streets to demand climate action, this time stripping down to their underwear in order to gain as much attention as possible. The protest was day 6 of a series of protests as part of Spring Rebellion. While Saturday's nude protest did not see any arrests, more than 100 protesters were arrested earlier this week after disrupting Melbourne's CBD. Protesters painted slogans on their flesh, including "We are overexposed" and "Compost the rich." And Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has set the internet ablaze once again with speculation about another possible bathroom mishap. Morrison acted as a water boy while attending a rugby league match in Fiji, but it was a photo that emerged after the game that has everyone talking. The PM was snapped in the crowd drinking a beverage, legs akimbo, with a suspicious damp patch in the crotch of his pants. While some have suggested he may have spilled his drink or suffered from localised perspiration, many have speculated that he may have accidentally urinated in his pants. Morrison is yet to comment.
Well, interesting strategy, going for the wide leg, not the, bring it in, try to hide it as much as you can.
Aerate a little bit, dries up a bit quicker, but I do have to say that picture there, he didn't have a spill mark on his shirt, so...
Conspiracy confirmed, I think, really. And,
I don't want to say too much about it, but I don't see a spill mark, so...
Yeah, well, we know that he never did come out and make an official comment about the incident in Engadine Macca's in 1997, so...
Yeah.
I wouldn't be holding our breath to find out what really happened.
Well, I'm hoping he will comment one day.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'd like to hear what he had to say about it.
Wow.
Now, you're staying with us because soon we're going to be bringing in Tom Cattle.
A very, very special guest today.
Yeah, very, very special. And we've known you're a massive fan of Drag Race.
I am.
So we'll keep you in here for now, but that's it for news. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jess.
Pleasure.
And don't forget you can have your say on any topics we cover on Back in a Bit via our socials, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.
And you can always watch this episode as well as others on our Upstart YouTube channel.
Now, what do you have this week on Boardroom for us?
On the Boardroom this week, we investigate weird statistics in sports. Now, when we come back, my face will be a tad bit different.
How do you measure how good an athlete is? People in the sports industry have tried their hardest to figure it out. Statisticians have also tried their hardest to create the most elaborate formulas to figure out how good an athlete is. But ever heard of a stat that you have no idea what it's about? Well, that's what we're going to get to the bottom of today. And who's the best person to do that?
Me?
No.
Me?
No.
Me?
No, guys, it's me. I'm Cody Mathson Lowe, and this is the Boardroom. Basketball fans have probably heard the term PER before, but you may not know what exactly it means. PER stands for Player Efficiency Rating, and it measures how efficient a player is. The PER stat has become so popular amongst basketball fans that it is seen as the most important advanced metric of the NBA. The stat calculation is one of the most elaborate, but I think I can explain it pretty simply. So first, you take 1 and divide it by the minutes a player played. Then you times it by the player and times that by 2 minus 1/3 and times that by team assists. You also have to think about steals and blocks in relation to the value of possession, because turnovers would mean more depending on the situation. Times 15 divided by league PER, and there you have it, the PER of the player. I hope I explained it right because I have no idea what any of it means. Over to the NFL. A passer rating is one of the most important metrics of any quarterback, but to the casual fan, it seems to just be a stat with little to no meaning. So what makes up the passer rating system? There are 5 variables that come into play. First, the number of passes attempted by the quarterback, both success and fail. Then the number of completions that the quarterback made with their passes. Third is passing yards. In the NFL, it's important for a quarterback to not only complete passes, but to make sure they move up the field. Fourth is touchdown passes, obviously because that's how you score in gridiron. And lastly, interceptions. You can't be a good passer if too many passes are going to the defense. All of this creates the formula for a passer rating. Baseball is one of the oldest sports in the world, and through that time, more advanced metrics have been formed throughout the sport. Without these metrics, we wouldn't have the game of baseball as we know it now, or more importantly, the film Moneyball. And OPS is one of the favorite statistics for batters. OPS is a combination of 2 statistics, on base percentage and slugger average. On base percentage refers to the percentage that a batter gets onto base. Slugging average is a matter of how many bases a batter gets versus how many times they bat. OPS is then calculated per batter for the amount of hits they make, bases on balls, times hit by pitch, at-bats, sacrifice flies, and total bases. And over 9,000 OPS is considered very good. Wait, over 9,000?
It's over 9,000! What?
That's it for the episode. I hope that you learned and were enlightened by some of the statistics I presented. If you want to catch any more episodes that I've done in the past, you can go to youtube.com/upstartmagazine. Anyway, it's a goodbye from me now. See you next time.
Thank you for that, Cody. Now, we have a very special guest with us today, Tom Cattle.
Hello.
Jess, what do we got?
Well, I've heard, Tom, that you do have a drag alter ego yourself.
I do have a drag alter ego. My sister is called Sinner.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've got a picture of you in drag as well that we can bring up.
Show it, baby. Oh yes, that's from
Fabulous.
That was my first show. I do have to say I did not do any of the makeup for that. So, but
Well,
it's beautiful.
speaking about makeup, Cody,
Yeah.
today you're getting your makeup done.
I know, as you can see, I've got my makeup on now. We're going to go throughout the interview, putting on more makeup.
We'll put about 5 minutes on the clock to see what we can come up with.
Yeah, because I want to see what it's like, you know, as a drag queen, what sort of makeup you have to wear, how it feels. You know, I've never had to wear makeup before, so it'd be interesting.
Yes, well, you know, it's a rush job, so please no actual drag queens out there. You know, take any.
Now, Tom, how did you start your drag journey?
I started my drag journey when, well, I guess it depends on what you mean by starting, you know? I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say that we all started drag when we were like 6 years old, but it's sort of true. And that's why you hear it all the time, because it's like, usually it's not to do with something you discover. It is something you end up discovering, but it's something inside yourself you discover. It's not so much something that you're like, oh, you know what, I might pick up this hobby. And that might be your case, but I think for a lot of people it becomes something you discover internally, you know, a bit Freudian, as they say.
And was it pulling on a pair of your mum's heels? Was it something like that happened for you? Or?
Well, when I was, if younger, it was more like So Fresh CDs, I guess, you know.
I mean, that's how it all starts, really.
And now, what's the favourite So Fresh CD that you have?
Oh, I have Winter 2003.
Yep.
It starts with Anastasia. Oh, my life, whatever it is. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what was your very first impression of drag?
Very first impression of drag. Well, I guess the first drag queen I saw was in Thailand, actually. And I didn't know I had no idea what was, what I was looking at. I didn't know if it was what gender or what boy or girl, whatever, because I was like 3 years old or whatever. But growing up in Queensland, there was no drag. Like in Brisbane, there is some, and some up north. But for someone who's young, and until you get to about 18, you start going to clubs. You don't, you don't see a lot of it. So my first experience of drag was actually at Yaya's.
Oh.
Really? Yeah, on Thursday.
Yep.
Thursdays, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was fun. And I don't know, I sort of secretly was like, I could do that, Yes.
And how did you go about choosing your stage name?
My stage name comes from, I'm just going to start the eyes on you because I realise
Go for it.
I've just sort of started talking and I've missed the whole makeup. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I spot James Charles' palette. Just plugging that. James Charles Morphy. Yeah, I started my journey my name when I was younger. When I used to do the dancing to the So Fresh, and I used to put on nail polish and lipstick, and I would just be the very sassy, just like energetic child.
Yeah.
That's all. Energetic, really. My family used to call me Thomasina. And like make fun of Thomasina, you know what I mean? And sort of criticize me, and I was always, and that's a lot of people's experiences, that are young and flamboyant. Yeah,
the running joke of the family.
Yeah, and then I changed personalities for a long time, but coming to Melbourne, when I first started drag, I didn't know what to call myself. I loved all different people, all different types of art. And so I thought, okay, how can I rework this Thomasina thing? Because it's sort of a bit, I don't want my name in it. It's something new, So I decided, okay, Sina, and that's a very common Asian name if you're in Korea or Japan or stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I could do better. And I thought, I love Nina Simone's Cinnamon and some of just the overall theme that song represents, and just the name that sinner, like a sinner, what is sin, Yeah. So I just thought, sinner, like share, it's one word.
That's great.
And you embraced it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we up to with Cody?
We're up to pretty much nothing. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to start putting eyes onto you. So can I get you to sort of look down and sort of, just your eyes.
What colour are you putting on Cody today?
This colour is called, I don't even know, it's called Astray. It's going to be Astray.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, what kind of makeups do you usually do on yourself? Do you usually stick to one kind of style, or for different events or stage shows, do you change it up a little bit?
Well, for me personally, I really love, I'm not a big fan of the current trends with makeup. I'm not into the golds, the rose golds, the tone, the very nude tones, and a lot of reds and of that spectrum of color. I'm more into black and
Bit
dark,
gothy.
really a bit gothy, bit gothy glamour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bit of sparkle.
Yeah, a bit of sparkle with that black. You know what I mean? So that's me though.
Now, how many wigs do you have?
I own 2 wigs.
Yep.
One's good, one's plastic. So I use one, basically.
So tell us, what do you think the difference is with the different types of queens who are out there? So I know that there's drag kings, drag queens, and bio queens as well.
Yes, there are. Well, that's the thing. We have, if no one knows what bio queens are basically a biological woman who identifies as a woman dressing up in drag. And drag kings are biological women or people who identify as cisgender women dressing up as a man. And yeah, a lot of people don't know that exists, or that's really, because it's not seen a lot.
Absolutely.
So do you feel like it's underrepresented then?
Oh yeah, I think it's fun though.
It's so
it shouldn't
fun.
be.
My favourite bio queen is named Venus Envy, and she's just beautiful. And she does the padding, she does the full makeup,
look at
full
the
wigs.
eyes.
Isn't she
She
lovely?
is fabulous.
Yeah. she's
Speaking of
stunning.
eyes, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's keep
Yeah.
I think
going.
we're almost.
Unfortunately, not going to quite look like that.
Yeah.
Absolute
I think we're
fabulous.
almost out of time.
Would you be able to give us drag names?
Well, darling, I couldn't give you anything. It's drag names come from what you a character that you want to put on, I suppose. You know.
Cody, do you feel you're in a drag queen? Do you've got a name for yourself?
I was thinking something like Cherish Ripe.
love it.
Cherish.
I
'Cause
love that.
you got to cherish every moment
Cherish
and
ripe.
cherry ripe and all that.
And you'd always be wearing like red lips and all sorts of.
Yes, and I'll
Little-
wear a candy wrapper as a dress.
I'm stealing that idea.
Well, I think that's all we have time for. Let's have a look. Let's see what I look like.
I'm so sorry. I tried to talk and do this. It was difficult. I apologize to all the fans.
Well, we'll move on to our next story.
bad.
If you two want to jump out of the studio and you can finish off the look, and Jess and I will handle the next part.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, so this month is October and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, our reporter Jess was giving us some interesting facts about mental health. Let's take a look.
In honour of Mental Health Week, today we're going to look at some facts about mental illness in Australia. A huge thanks to mental illness charity Sane Australia for the information contained in today's video. Fact 1. 45% of Australians will experience a mental illness during their lifetime. This statistic covers anxiety, mood disorders and personality disorders in people aged 16 to 85, so it's likely that the actual number is much higher once other disorders and age ranges are catered for. Fact 2. Anyone could be affected by mental illness, but some groups are at higher risk than others. LGBTIAQ+ people are at a higher risk than the general population for mental illness and are also the most at-risk group for suicide. Organisations like Switchboard Australia cater specifically to the queer community. Indigenous Australians experience much higher rates of psychological distress than the general population. They can also have more difficulty accessing services. Former AFL footballer Adam Goodes has spoken publicly about his struggles with mental health. He spoke to Ando about the racism he experienced in the final year of his AFL career and the toll it took on him. Let's take a look.
I don't just go out there every single day beating my chest about racism, because that's a tough issue, mate. I've dealt with it. It's hard to talk about. We deal with it every day as Indigenous people. Ask any minority in this country, they've got stories of racism themselves. It's there. It's alive. It happens. But let's be part of the process that's helping change that. Let's keep having the conversations, because when you're part of the conversations and you're wanting to do something about it, there's hope, there's a way forward.
Fact 3. There's more than one way to treat mental illness. Every person is different, and treatment can include a variety of things: medication, psychological therapy, community support, and people with mental illness helping themselves. This can include things like eating well, getting plenty of sleep, and exercising regularly. Fact 4. Men are less likely to seek help. 65% of people experiencing mental illness symptoms don't seek professional help. 40% of women get help, but less than 30% of men do. Fact 5. Being connected with others and part of a community can have a positive effect on mental health. One American study showed that connecting with other people socially can decrease the effects of depression and anxiety. Another study looked at the happiness of over 4,000 people for a period of 20 years to see if the happiness of a person could spread to their social group. They found that people's happiness depends on the happiness of others with whom they are connected. What this tells us is that whether or not you're one of the 20% of Australian adults who are currently dealing with mental illness, the way that we support each other and our community has a huge impact on mental health. Organisations like Beyond Blue, Black Dog Institute and Sane Australia have lots of information online about how to support someone who is affected by mental illness. From how to start a conversation about how someone is feeling, to creating a safety plan when someone is experiencing an acute mental health crisis. Together, we can all make the world a better place for people who are dealing with mental illness. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental illness, you can get support from Lifeline Australia 131114 or on any of the contact details on screen now.
Well, welcome back. Now, joining us in studio, Lil Kennedy.
Health
So,
and Wellbeing
yeah,
Coordinator here at Trobe University.
That's correct.
Thank you for joining us here today. Now, it is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Last, maybe Wednesday, the 10th, was Mental Health Awareness Day.
That's correct.
That is why we got you in today, because we wanted to get a good insight into the mental health and wellbeing area.
Okay.
So, what does
Thank
your
you for coming. Yeah.
yeah? What does your position entail?
well, it's quite varied because across a number of projects. But one of the things we're really aware of is trying to raise awareness around mental health and to reduce the stigma. So that's kind of some of the things I get involved. I also get in different projects, but one of the areas around mental health is really trying to promote wellness, number one, but also to reduce the stigma. So like getting involved in activities like we have University Mental Health Day. We got students to do a video around that. So trying to get students to talk about mental health because I think students reach out to other students a lot more, you know. Also, Are You OK Day? Back a few weeks. We worked with the LTSU and that was quite good. And again, students, you know, working on a video with students to really to notice, you know, among their peers when something is going wrong and to actually support their fellow students and to actually tell them about the help that's available around the university.
Absolutely.
So it's really about, it's not just about going and getting help, it's about actually creating that awareness, reducing the stigma. One of the other projects we're involved in, because, you know, as the statistics have shown, we've got obviously, you know, mental ill health among young people is higher even than the statistic across the general population. So it's more like 1 in 4 every year. And in universities, it could be even higher, the statistics say as well. So it's like, you know, most people suffer at some stage of mental health.
Well, touching on the university, how does La Trobe offer support to students suffering with mental illness?
Well, we have a counselling service, which is across all the regions as well. And within the counselling services, there's counsellors, obviously, but we've got specialists in LGBTIQ support and Indigenous support, because they, again, as the statistics show, are one of the highest sufferers of mental health.
Absolutely.
And even within that, there's a group like, say, within LGBTI called Queer Chat. So they get together every week, students, and they actually talk about different issues that are affecting them. So it's almost like it's that connection.
Yep.
And so there's, you know, some of the things that they're facing, you know, homophobic comments, different things that are happening for them, even around sexual health, all of that. That's, you know, they work out topics every week, they discuss them, but it's like creating that kind of community. Yes.
Yeah, because I don't know if you can't tell, but I'm not necessarily in my natural state. I don't usually wear this much makeup. So I would assume you would get a lot of, you know, people, you know, in the LGBT plus community, you know, going through mental health issues because we just had Tom on before.
Yes.
And again, there's a lot of stigma around that. Can you tell me how do you help students, you know, with mental health problems that maybe stem from more childhood versus, you know, adulthood?
And stressful situations.
Yeah, and stressful situations and stuff.
Yeah, now, I'll have to say myself, I'm not I'm not a trained counsellor, but I mean, one of the things that we obviously within the counselling team, they would work with people depending on obviously backgrounds and what might be affecting them. I mean, that is part of their role. So it's not just about, oh, something's happening, you're stressed about your exam today. It's sometimes there's triggers for different reasons. The other area that I'm a bit involved in is the prevention of violence against gender-based violence. And so often for people, things that have happened or even relationship stuff that's happening now can be actually a trigger for mental ill health. You know, so there's lots of different triggers. It's emotional, and so I can't talk directly, but I think one of the things we all have to be aware of is looking after our health, mental health, but that there can be different things for all of us, environmental, whatever, that can be emotional, that can be affecting us and can be triggers from childhood trauma.
How can we practice more wellfulness and mindfulness and well-being with ourselves?
I think, you know, the whole thing around, it's interesting about mental ill health. It's about looking after yourself in general. Like there's a whole load of areas that I would say that people have to be mindful of, apart from mindfulness. But it's around like physical health, because if you're not looking after your, you know, exercise is a really good way of looking after your well-being. So if you're not doing that, you know, diet, sleeping, you know, it's the stuff that kind of people take for granted, but also connection. Connection is really important. So when it comes to mindfulness and things, it's actually being aware that we all see things differently at different times and accepting some of those kind of negative feelings that we have. And, you know, not just, you know, there are thoughts, there are perspective, but trying to kind of just be really aware of that. And that's why meditation is so good, because it kind of gets you to the point, just accept what's there, and that our emotions are like, you know, they're constantly changing, but also to reach out for help. If that's if it's continuing and it's not actually changing, I think and I often think that's where people don't know when to access support. And the thing we would say is, you know, if it's bothering you, access support at any stage. Don't be embarrassed or feel that you shouldn't, that your problem is not as serious as your friend who's,
Yeah.
I think that that's
Absolutely.
one of the other things. But also people can help each other a
Yeah.
lot. And sometimes if you notice something's wrong with a friend and it's continuing and they're dropping out of classes or,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, that's really important in terms of actually saying what's going on here, and also, do you know the services in the university? Because we're growing.
Exactly.
We've even got you probably wouldn't be aware, we've got a men's health coordinator. We've actually been working with Tomorrow Man, which is also around with men, trying to redefine masculinity, because the old traditional forms of masculinity aren't helping men, and men are one of the highest groups for suicide. They're the ones that don't reach out for help and support because they think they need to be strong and tough.
The whole stigma behind
Yeah,
it.
whereas actually being more vulnerable is actually quite a strength. And realising and reaching out for support. So we've worked with Tomorrow Man, who are an outside group.
Yep.
They've come in and done some workshops for men, and then we're combining that with a men's health coordinator who's actually going to work ongoing with men. So there's
excellent.
different things that are happening. The problem is sometimes people being aware of all these things.
Well,
So
that's
it's great.
excellent. So
Yeah.
we just say to our students here at La Trobe, go and talk to the counselling service if you need help. They're all here to help you. And there's an excellent services, men's health, the LGBTQI community, everything's here, Indigenous.
There's different things happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us here at the desk today. It's been very insightful, and we just hope everybody reaches out if they need help, because we're all here to help.
We'll be gone for about 20 seconds,
Yep.
literally.
We'll be back in a bit with
and
our sports presenter, Lexi and Brody. Now, that was a very insightful talk with Lil just there. Now we're going to go straight into sport with Brody and Lexi. Lexi, what have you got this week?
So the biggest story of the week is marathon runner Eliud Kipchoge just broke the 2-hour marathon barrier. He's a Kenyan runner and he finished it with 20 seconds to spare. So absolutely an amazing feat. The first person to do it, but it was under controlled conditions, so that means that it didn't go down as an official record.
Oh no, what?
Yeah, so the whole race was set so that he could do the 2-hour run. He had specific shoes that would help him run faster. He had pace setters all around him to break the wind for him.
Oh my God.
A car in front of him had a laser beam so he could keep up for every single second of the race. So
I didn't know any of this. I thought the man just did an absolute stellar job and got to it.
It was
but
literally
no.
just his race, just
Oh,
him.
wow.
And I also heard there was another marathon record
Yeah,
broken.
so Bridget Kosgei, she's also a Kenyan, and she broke the women's world record. She did that in Chicago in 2 hours, 14 minutes and 4 seconds. So that's a record that stood for 16 years, and she smashed it by 81 seconds. So I know, imagine breaking the world record, and that's not even the biggest marathon story.
At least one record's holding up for
Yeah,
now.
well, exactly. One's official.
Yeah.
NFL, Brody?
Yeah, Brody.
Yeah, so we're actually going to do NBA instead today.
all right.
Okay.
Because we've got a very breaking story, and that is
Okay.
that Ben Simmons has finally hit a 3.
Finally.
It's finally happened, but unfortunately it won't count because it was in pre-season, but it is a good sign for the coming year, especially if you're a 76ers fan. And also Anthony Davis could miss up to a month with a thumb injury.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's not exactly confirmed yet. They're listed as a grade 1 sprain at the moment, but we'll see how it develops. And Zion Williamson is really looking to deliver on the hype. He's put in a fantastic 3 games to start the preseason.
Yeah.
So the Pelicans might be looking good if he continues to play.
Yeah, and I think everybody's seeing the thumb injury and being like, that's weird. But when you think about holding a ball, your thumb would be so...
It's pretty important.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
pretty
thumb's there to
important.
especially as a big man, you need to be able to hold the ball and move it around, freely. So to not have your thumb at full strength, it makes a big difference.
Did his injury stick out like a sore thumb?
Like,
I've been working on that one, Lexi.
Yeah, I think that's...
I've been waiting for that.
Well, on that stellar classic joke, I think we'll end sports there because we're not going to get any better than that.
Thank you, Lexi. You just topped
No
the show
problem,
for
no
us.
problem.
Well, that's it for the episode. Good episode.
Full of lots and lots of stuff today.
I'm in makeup. That's
I'm
first
loving it.
time for everything.
Hopefully we can finish it off, get you some lips on.
Ooh, maybe we'll see. All right, well, I've been Cody Mapson-Lowe,
I've been Lauren Devine.
and we'll be back in a bit.